Hey guys, how's it going? It's Mr. Matthews. Hope you're doing well. This is our second story for the week. It is Mutation, episode 4. So I'm going to go ahead and read to you. We'll do the story, we'll do the questions, and then see where it goes. All right, here we go. Mutation, episode 4. This is called Professor Bickers. In episode 3, a scientist named Dr. Z was convinced that TJ's mouse was, in fact, Emmy, when Emmy typed a message on a phone. Then Dr. Z said he might be able to help turn Emmy back into a human. TJ slipped me back into his pocket and we followed Dr. Z into the lab. "If I can get in touch with my former partner, Professor Katrina Bickers," said Dr. Z, "she may have an idea as to where the missing mutation formula is. But I should warn you that I've been trying to find her for weeks, ever since I botched the experiment." "What experiment?" TJ asked, adjusting his glasses. Dr. Z cleared his throat and admitted, "It's not something I'm proud of, but Professor Bickers and I were working on an experiment to change some mouse genes when I lost part of the mutation formula. It just seemed to vanish. Professor Bickers was so angry about it that she left and never came back. And because of my mistake, I even lost the use of the lab. Today is the first time I've been back in weeks, and I only came to get the rest of my equipment. That's what I was moving into my van." We followed Dr. Z into a bright room with 2 microscopes, a bunch of beakers, and 3 test tube racks spread out on a table. Hesitantly, he reached for a cell phone on his desk, intending to try to call Professor Bickers, I guessed. "Be on the lookout, because there are quite a few mice in here," he told TJ. "I spied one earlier, but I think I got rid of it with my lucky broom." He held up a broom that was leaning against the side of his desk. I shuddered at the thought of getting whacked with the bristles of that broom. TJ gently pulled me out of his pocket and placed me on the table, although at that moment I wasn't completely sure I wanted to be out in the open. "Thanks," I squeaked, twitching my whiskers. "Do you think all the mice here are contaminated?" TJ asked. "Like the one that bit my sister?" Dr. Z scanned the corners of the room and said gravely, "For the well-being of our whole ecosystem, I should hope not." TJ nervously ran his hand across his forehead. "You just have to find a way to change my sister back, and I know you can do it. Is there some other lab that might have the ingredient we need? Or maybe we should call NASA or the president?" "I don't think they'd take my call," said Dr. Z with a little smirk. "No, we are the first to have developed the formula. But now part of it is gone, and I need it to reverse the calculations and develop the cure. The missing part is called M2, and it's made from an African desert plant, and it is quite rare. So if I'm understanding all of this correctly, you were experimenting with the mutation formula, and then you lost one ingredient called M2. Yes, I remember mixing the parts together and placing the M2 down right here." Dr. Z pointed to the end of the table. "Then, like I said, it's an embarrassing turn of events." And as I listened to Dr. Z and TJ retrace Dr. Z's steps, I slumped down on the table and realized my future looked bleak. I might be stuck like this forever. "Psst! Hey, over here!" A small voice squeaked from behind me. I scurried to the edge of the table to see what, or who, had made that sound. "Down here, can you hear me?" "Yes," I squeaked back. "I'm Katrina Bickers," said a little white mouse. "Please, I need your help." "Katrina Bickers? Hey, you're the same mouse that bit me," I squeaked. I ran to Dr. Z and pawed at his lab coat with a little scratching motion, and then pointed to Professor Bickers near the vent. "Look, there she is," I squeaked, completely forgetting that Dr. Z could not understand my squeaks. "No, wait," Professor Bickers squeaked desperately. "If he sees me, he'll—" Whack! Whack! "There's another mouse!" Dr. Z shouted, waving the broom in the air. "There, by the vent. It might be contaminated." Whack! Whack! "Stop!" I squeaked in vain. "Stop!" But it was too late, because by the time I got to the cell phone to explain who the mouse really was, Dr. Z had Professor Bickers pinned to the floor underneath his lucky broom. To be continued. Let's see what part 5 brings. I'll bring that to you tomorrow. But for now, here are the questions for the little quiz. Go back into Schoology and take the quiz, okay? Question 1. What is the main problem in this episode? A. Dr. Z needs to call to get help with the mutation formula, but he cannot find his phone. B. Dr. Z needs to figure out the mutation formula, but Professor Bickers refuses to help. C. M2, an ingredient in the mutation formula, was lost during Dr. Z's lab experiment. D. M2, an ingredient in the mutation formula, attracted quite a few mice to Dr. Z's lab. Question 2. What does Emmy learn about Professor Bickers? A. Emmy learns that Professor Bickers stole part of the formula from the lab. B. Emmy learns that Professor Bickers is actually the mouse that bit her earlier. C. Emmy learns that Professor Bickers set all the lab mice free before she left. D. Emmy learns that Professor Bickers is working at a different lab now. Question 3. Read this sentence from the episode. If I can get in touch with my former partner, Professor Katrina Bickers, said Dr. Z, she may have an idea as to where the missing mutation formula is, but I should warn you that I've been trying to find her for weeks, ever since I botched the experiment. In this sentence, the word botched means A. Did incorrectly, B. Forgot how to do, C. Finished slowly, or D. Tried to change. Last question, question 4. Think about the events below. Which event happened first? A. TJ pulls Emmy out of his pocket and puts her on the table. B. TJ listens to Dr. Z explain the experiment and asks about the M2. C. TJ suggests that Dr. Z call another lab, NASA, or the president. Or D. TJ asks Dr. Z if all the mice in the lab are contaminated. All right, so there you go. That is your story for today. Go ahead back into Schoology, take the quiz, see how you did, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully. Have a good one, guys.